Caleb, welcome to the show. Always great to talk to you. Thank you for making time for this as usual. I gotta say, I have a lot of questions about the new album and stuff. But I will say this is my favorite Beartooth album by far, which I consider disgusting to be like a 10 out of 10 album. That's like for sure easily one of the best albums of the last decade. And I think this one is better in absolutely every way. Like, to me, this is the same kind of like energy, but it's like you've channeled the light side of the force instead of the dark side. What do you think about that way of putting it?
I thank you, first off. And I agree with you. I mean, I think in a lot of ways, I was kind of chasing things after making that first record. It's tough, dude. When the first record is just like, it all worked. Like
right.
Like people got it. I was doing it completely for myself, like 100%, just no thought anywhere else in my mind other than like, do what you love, make a record that makes you happy, and talk about, your shit, whatever. It worked and it was great.
I mean, I remember thinking of it as like, oh, this is like Caleb's new project. I wonder if this is going to go anywhere. Yeah,
dude, straight up. It was like that was the energy while making it, which you only get. I mean, if you're lucky, you only get one of those,
Right.
You get one where there's no pressure. There's no anything to it. It's just do whatever you want. You're just making a record purely from the heart with nothing else going on. And so then, like, in a weird way, man, that's how I felt making this record. Like, I haven't ever been in the headspace that I've been in. We've talked about it a little bit previously, but obviously made a lot of changes in life, feeling way better. And like talking about that for a record for the first time in my life, it really did give me that kind of like that. You just go into that flow state. It's like this place that you can't even describe as a creative, but you can tap into it and it just feels so real and there's no struggle and it just comes out. And it worked. And this record is exactly what I wanted to say. I'm so proud of like the songs I wrote, of the mix I did, of the like everything about it, man. I really do enjoy it. So thank you. I'm glad you dig it. And I'm glad that you feel that same way about kind of like it has some kind of spark similar to that first record. Because I feel that same way.
Which is so rare. I mean, you've been doing this for 10 years now, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
It's so hard. Like you said, you're lucky to even have that kind of spark once, to have it, not to say that you didn't before, but it does feel like this is like a renewed kind of, energy to be able to find that 10 years into your career. What's this album, number 5 or something?
Full length number 5. And we had an EP. Yeah.
Right. And you did the seemingly impossible. You made an album that is both the heaviest and the most melodic without being butt rock.
Dude, it is the chase. It is the chase. This is going to be our best record yet.
Right.
Like, it is more melodic, but it's still heavy. Like,
right.
That literally is. People are like, what's your new record sound like?
Yeah.
I'm like, you're exactly what every other band probably tells you that is about to make their radio record.
But it's interesting. You did, like, there's a lot of stuff that to me sounds, I'll say, kind of like The Weeknd or something, which is like a new thing for you.
Yeah,
where did that come from? I think that just sounded so fresh and cool to me.
Yeah, dude. Specifically the song, My New Reality.
Yes, which I want to ask you about.
It's like, it's a pop song. To be fair, a lot of these are pop songs.
Yeah.
Beartooth has always I've always had like pop structure. Like if you break everything down, it's all, intro, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus out. But I did approach this record different in that I wanted it to be like, write the song first. By that, I mean like lyric and melody and chord progression, and kind of
which is the way pop people write and typically not the way rock people write.
Exactly. Like, typically for every other Beartooth record, it's been, I write the music first, write the vocals to the music, and then kind of go back to the music and like tailor the music around the vocal, which is very common practice.
Yeah.
But no, this was way more like songwriter style, like pop writing, Nashville style, where it's.
I'm kind of surprised that that's the first time you've done this, because your other stuff sounds like you started with the top line. if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's because I would go back and make sure the music always lines up. That's the one thing, is that like when the problem I think you run into sometimes with rock is when you have that fight between like the singer and the band,
the guitarist.
Yeah, and it's like, no, this riff needs to be in the chorus. Yeah. It's like, well, this riff is overshadowing the vocal, right. It's getting in the way, and then you get that kind of like cluttered thing.
Right.
That's one thing that's nice about me doing everything, and also like having a pretty decent background in songwriting, is the song, it would tend to get less in the way. You know,
and then when you're in the studio, you could be like, you know what? Actually, maybe there's no guitars in this part. And you don't have to worry about hurting anyone's feelings.
Yeah,
you can just do what makes sense for the song.
Exactly. But yeah, so like to My New Reality specifically, that song I wrote with a pop writer and a hip hop writer. His name is Story. He's awesome. I met him here in LA. Great dude, and super talented lyricist. And the thing that I wanted to do with that song is like manifesting, you know, self-empowerment, which is all over this record. But towards the end, that's like the last 3 songs after like the sad, slow song in the middle are all just like super straight up empowerment. Nothing.
I listened to those songs like probably 5 times in a row last night because it was just like, I love that vibe so much. And really quickly, I also wanted to mention my Patreon. If you like what I do on YouTube and everywhere else, joining my Patreon really helps me do this full time and worry less about videos getting demonetized by YouTube or copyright claimed by labels. Patrons get all my podcasts and main channel videos early. There are members only channels in my Discord that I'm super active in. I also do giveaways. For example, I've been giving away a lot of Emo's Not Dead merch. And you can also have me review your music, artwork, or anything else. All you need to do is join my Patreon at the $10 level, and then every month I do a call for submissions. If you want me to review something, just drop it in the comments of that post, and then I will review it live on Twitch. So if any of that sounds cool to you, hit the link in the description of this video, and I appreciate your support.
Yeah, dude. And it was like crucial for me to have that be the record, the way the record finishes, because like kind of in the story of the record, the way it plays out is really how my last like year and a half played out while I was writing it. You know, it goes like starts super high, gets low, ends on a big high. And but the thing is like, I mean, you would know this as someone who's listened to Beartooth records before. Self-empowerment, not exactly my forte. And, writing from a place of anything but like self-deprecation is genuinely new. But dude, hip hop and pop is all about that, like, fuck you, I am the shit thing.
Yep.
And so yeah, it was such a cool experience because I was writing it with this dude, and like, you know, we did the usual thing. We talk about what I want to talk about, what I'm going through, but it was all lyrics for him. That was everything that he like put into it. And it was so eye-opening for me because I would, you know, write a line or something. He'd be like, you can say that way cooler. Like, that's not fuck you enough. That's not like you got to believe it. And then would like write this sick line and I'd be like, oh, okay. And then we'd kind of go back and forth and work with it until it like, you know, I would be too far back. He would go too far. Right. I would kind of meet it in the middle, and then we have a line. And we just went line for line for line for line for line. And like that song is way shorter than what the demo was. But the demo was straight up just like, it sounded like a Weekend song. It was very much in that vibe. It was like, you know, just kick, snare, Juno synth, and like just a very small like thing to write to. And then, yeah, we made like a pop song, and then I just flipped it into a rock song.
Put some guitars in there and you got your rock song. Well, I think lyrically, this is the best album that I've heard in so long. Like, at least for me, like it just clicks for me. You know, it kind of reminds me of like Hatebreed. I don't know if you listen to them very much, but it kind of reminds me of like Hatebreed lyrically.
Yeah.
And so that the song My New Reality is the one that like really, I think, stuck with me. So there's like, I guess it's like the chorus or pre-chorus, whatever. It's like, so high, I'm weightless. What is the line?
So high up, I'm weightless, found another dimension. I see the kingdom coming. The world is my creation.
Yeah, that's it. Yes. Yeah. Which feels to me like I remember sitting at my job in like 2017 and just something clicked, and I was like, I don't have to do this anymore. I can do whatever the fuck I want.
Yeah.
I just felt like I unlocked God mode.
Dude, yes. That is literally the energy.
Yeah, tell me about that.
That's straight up it. It's like that's what I feel like I've found, is that kind of just when you really understand that you are the only person that controls how you react to the world,
mm-hmm.
then it feels like you just got the keys, like that's how I feel is, instead of feeling like a victim or feeling like because I'm so depressed and anxious and my chemicals are imbalanced in that way, I'll never be able to achieve this.
Yeah.
I'll never be able to quit this, or I'll never be able to whatever. That getting rid of that, like shedding that skin and starting over with like what you believe about yourself to
mm-hmm.
your core. That's what it's all about, is like, holy shit, I can literally do anything that I want to do. Like, I wholeheartedly believe that. I believe that is the case. And I think that is the case with anybody. It's like when people are like, oh, I could never run a marathon. It's like, well,
why
yeah,
not?
you couldn't run a marathon right now, but like if you put in the work, yes, you can. Of course you could. It's like, I could run a 100-mile ultra marathon through the mountains if I trained for it. Like,
sure,
I believe that. You know what I mean?
Like, I know that I could start a company that ended up being worth $100 million if I really wanted to do that, and I don't want to do what it takes to do that because,
exactly,
like, that requires you to just like sacrifice your whole life, which I don't want to do.
Yeah, it's like your whole time, energy goes to that. But if that,
I know I could do it. It's a choice.
That is absolutely possible. 100%.
Exactly. It's a choice. Yeah. And I think this is so interesting because one of the most frustrating things to me is that people want to hear that they're a powerless victim. And there's so many bands that are telling them that, like, oh, you're doomed. The world is out to get you. Like, you might as well not even try because you're screwed.
Mm-hmm.
I get that there's some catharsis there, but like, I hate that message. And I hate that that's like, if you say that to people, everyone's going to pat you on the back and tell you how great that is. If you tell them like, no, you can do whatever you want. You can like have the life of your dreams. There's nothing stopping you other than the story you tell yourself. They get mad.
Yeah.
And it's so frustrating to me.
Dude, it's because it's challenging. It's
right.
Dude, I actually had a really interesting talk with Sean, the guitar player of While She Sleeps. Well, we just did a few shows with them in Europe. And he is a super like mindful guy, meditates, he's into a lot of things that I've been into in the last few years. And he was talking about that. Like, we were just talking about being depressed and being anxious. Like, that's something we both really deal with. And he's like, it's comfortable to be in that space.
Yep.
Like it is, you don't have to do anything. You can just like check out. And that's like, that clicked with me heavy. Like, it's not that we want to be there or you like it, but it is comfortable.
Sure.
For me, it's so easy. I know how to get into that space. All I got to do is stop exercising, stop eating well, stop seeing the sun, stop sleeping well, not worry about anything of myself. And then my chemistry is just going to go back there in like a few days. And then I'm in there and then I'm stuck. And then it's a whole process of getting back out. And like, but yeah, dude, hearing that it takes like work and it takes there's not just some outside force that's going to come in and do something for you. Like, you're not going to be able to buy anything. You're not going to be able to do anything other than making that choice for you. That's all that's going to change you. And like, it's a tough pill to swallow, but I do find it very beautiful once it's kind of like started to click. Because, dude, it's just so empowering. It's like, holy shit, like whatever this person does or throws at me, or that this situation imparts on my life, or in my career or whatever, if this goes good, if this goes bad, it doesn't fucking matter. Like, what matters is how I react.
Yeah, that's all you can control.
But it's tough. Yeah. And that's why
it is tough. Yeah. I mean, that's not to diminish. I mean, I've, had depression or whatever, I guess, probably my whole life. It sucks. Some days I wake up and I want to kill myself and it sucks. And
yeah, dude,
it's
not fun at all. Yeah.
And that's not to diminish that at all, but it's like, well, what are you going to do about that?
Yeah.
Are you just
How do
going to
you
like lay in
react
bed all day?
to that
Or are you
morning?
going to make the most of it?
Yeah, straight up, dude. Like I have on my alarm every morning, it just says breathe. And like that is a crucial part of my day is waking up. Dude, we just did this tour in Europe that was incredibly stressful. It was like the biggest shows we've ever done, massive tour, everything great, but like a lot of logistical stuff going wrong. We're having a lot of issues where we're just having to fight through it. But like, dude, breathing kept me going through that. I mean, through life in general, but like just wake up before I start scrolling, before I whatever. It's just like breathe just for a few minutes, even like 30 seconds, just really deep breathing. Think about your day, manifest something fucking awesome, and then go. And then
literally one breath, one deep breath will make you feel better like instantly.
yeah, it's like physiologically a fact. Like it will change the way that you're reacting to things and thinking about things.
There's so many little things
everything.
like that. Like a lot of people, I think, don't realize how much tension they carry like in their face and shoulders and stuff. And if you just like consciously like take a deep breath and let it out and like release a lot of that tension that you're carrying, you'll be like, oh, I instantly feel like 20% better.
Dude, yes, 100%, man. And it's so funny, like feeling better in small ways, like doing the little things that are going to make you feel better seems so stupid in the moment. Like
right.
when you're sad and I'm like okay, for me, for example, it's like when I'm sad and I'm like, I can tell, I know this place. I know that I'm a little out of balance here. I should go for a run and go like sit in an ice bath or just like take even something as simple as just taking deep breaths. I'm like, that sounds like the actual last thing on a list of things to do that I want to do. I don't know why. It's just so
right. It's weird.
Yeah, but it's true. But then you do it. It's like
Yeah.
I go out and I'm, 40 steps into my run and I've got music playing. I'm like, oh yeah, like I'm all right. We're good.
Yep.
We can get through this. Dude, it is funny, man, but it's making the choice. It's just like it is all making the choice in that moment. And all of those little choices add up to the big picture. That's
my
it.
mom and my dad, but especially my mom, who was a very like fucked up person. Like her parents died when she was young and her brother killed himself and all those horrible things happened to her. But she put in a lot of work on herself. And so even though she was kind of a fucked up person, she had a lot of wisdom about this stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember she used to tell me I would be upset about something, when I was a teenager. And of course, always blaming other people and this, that, and the other. Yeah. She's like, well, happiness is a choice. I'm like, no, it's not. She's like, okay, well, if you want to keep being upset about this, you can be, or you can just choose not to be.
Dude, happiness is a choice is like the motto. That is so fucking true. Man, I get so many people who ask me how you do it. Like, how'd you do it? How'd you do it? Like, it is the journey that is
conscious effort every minute of every day. That's
how it is, just choosing to do it. That is it. It's like, to me, it's like it's a waterfall effect. It's a but you got to take the baby steps. It wasn't like some magical, just one day I woke up and the lights turned on. And like, I will say quitting drinking was definitely one of the most pivotal moments in that. But even then, dude, like I didn't stop drinking for like a year after I'd been going to the gym and I'd been like slowly learning these techniques and going to therapy and like all this stuff. It just one foot in front of the other every day. It's just take one step in the right direction. You keep going. And then like you look back 2 years and you're like, oh my God, like I'm actually doing it. And then you just keep going. But yeah, dude, it's a fucking choice. Straight up. I really do believe that.
There's one of the songs on the album that I think really captured this well, which is What Are You Waiting For? Tell me about that one.
Oh, I love that fucking song, man.
I do too.
I wrote that one with Drew Folk, who is a legend. I'm sure you're very familiar.
Yep. Yeah, he's amazing.
He's so good. So we haven't worked together since we did You Never Know on our album Disease. But yeah, I just wanted to work with him again. I mean, he's awesome. I don't work with a lot of writers. I am incredibly closed off when it comes to Beartooth stuff. Um, but yeah, like, me and him, we do the same thing every time. Get a coffee and just talk for like 2 hours and just hang out, talk about life, get caught up. He just wants to know what I'm feeling, what I'm going through. We listened to the record, and everything I'd had, and he was like, dude, let's just like distill something down and just give them a really easy, here's Beartooth, here's the music, here's the lyrics, here's everything, but just like straight to the point. And it turned out to be such a great song. Like the lyrics are the most basic version of what I was trying to say possible. I'd come up with a line and it's like the motto when we were writing it, literally we just kept saying, we can go dumber. Like it's not
yes.
dumber. Like we can go dumber. And so that's what we kept doing, dude, is like, I'm talking about how I'm in the middle of this big change and like I feel like you have to just do it and blah blah blah. And he's like, turn your life around. You know what I mean? Like just distill it. Make it so simple and obvious that you cannot misinterpret it.
Which is the chorus of the song for anyone who hasn't heard it.
Yeah, yeah. And like when you listen to it, at least for me, it's just, it is so obvious what this song is about and really what the record is about. It's like, just fucking do it.
Turn your life around.
Yeah, just turn your life around.
But I appreciate that you did that because I'm a very literal kind of person, and I'll read some bands but I care about lyrics, and so I'll read someone's lyrics and I'm like, I have no idea what this is about, and then maybe I see an interview with them where they explain it and I'm like, oh, this is great, like you're a really intelligent person and this is a great message, but I would have no idea from like, unless you explained it, I had no idea what this song was about. And I understand, obviously everyone can do what they want, but I'm like, why didn't you just say what you meant?
Yeah, for sure. It goes a long way. And I very much so in my previous records have either been like somewhat straightforward, or I'm writing about something completely different and I'm using it as kind of like a crutch to what I really mean because I'm like afraid to say it or something.
Right. I think that's probably a lot of it is people are afraid to say it because they're afraid of being judged or they don't want to disclose 100%. Something, which I get.
Yeah.
But it really helps people if you can just like lay it out there. I think you're doing your audience a service.
Yeah, dude. I'm very happy that that's the approach that was taken with a lot of these songs, is that just straightforward. The other song I wrote with Drew in that same vein was I Was Alive.
That's a great one too.
The last song on the record, which in my opinion is my favorite song I've probably ever written. But like to be able to just strip away all of the fear and just write and say exactly what I want. That's what made this record different, is there was no fear. And I mean, not no fear, it was there, but that was like the choice I made while writing. Because making Beartooth records, like I do have to choose to go into headspaces. Like I always, when I'm making the record, go back into the headspace, try to, that I made the first record with, which is, this is an album for me to say what I need to say for my own health and my own well-being. And I'm not going to write this for anybody else or for what people think they need to hear or what I think the radio wants or what I think is going to make us successful. I'm just going to write a record that makes me happy. I go to that place. And then the thing that was different about this record is the motto was no fear for the whole record cycle, from writing it to all the way when it's done, is there will be none. And yeah, man, writing songs like What Are You Waiting For and I Was Alive and My New Reality that are just so polar opposite to any Beartooth song ever it was scary, but like going in with that no fear choice, while writing them, it made the record what it is. So like, yeah, man, I'm just really excited for people to hear this. It seems that everything we've put out so far, and obviously the record's they're probably out by now when people are hearing this, but yeah, like I don't know. It's been a long time coming. I never thought I would write this record in my life. I never, ever, and so I'm very cool. I'm very cool with it. Very happy about it. And stoked for people to give it a rip.
It's interesting, that you, I guess I'm trying to think of a way to say this that isn't shitty, but I'll just say it.
Oh, please.
Is like, so there's a lot of people that haven't loved the singles so far, and people on Reddit literally say, I'm glad, I'm not even exaggerating, I'm glad Caleb is doing better now, but I miss when he was a depressed alcoholic because the music was better.
Yeah. Oh,
like, are you serious?
Yeah, it's hilarious, man. I mean, I will say, like, to a point, I get that. Obviously, I don't agree, and like, I don't think they actually wish, my mortality against me, whatever the fuck. But like, I do. That was the thing that I think I was the most scared of with this record. But
this is not a sober record, because sober records almost always suck.
Yeah, this is definitely.
You know what I mean?
That. Yeah,
It's also, still, you said it's the opposite of Beartooth, and I don't think it is. I think it's the same thing Beartooth has always been. You've just, you're a different person, and you have grown and gotten out of a dark spot, but it's still Beartooth. It's not like you know what I mean? It's not like you made a ska album.
Right. Yeah, I will. So it is definitely, to the core, very Beartooth.
Yeah.
It is definitely, it's opposite to any Beartooth record subject wise and thematically, and like the point of view that I'm writing from, I guess. That's what is so different. But yeah, at the core, it really is. Like Beartooth, if you could write down, if I wrote down the Beartooth Manifesto, I didn't write it down when I started, but I just, it is me alone in a room or a basement usually, or a bedroom, writing songs about exactly what I am going through emotionally at that moment, with zero filter,
right? For
me to hear and for me to work through something. And that's what it is. And so that did not change. But the energy about it changed. So like what I get about people not being as down with it, and what scared the hell out of me, was I was like, this is just going to be different. This is like a totally different thing. I'm not writing from that angry place. So it is a brighter record, just sonically it is brighter. Like, yeah, it's heavier, but even the way it's heavy is different.
Yeah.
And like, obviously people would just have their opinions on musical taste. Sure. It's like, it's, some people like death metal, some people like pop, whatever. But yeah, that scared the shit out of me. Like putting out Riptide, and making that first statement of, hey, like, I'm not making another depressed record. This is like what's about to start happening with Beartooth. It's fucking terrifying. It's like, here we go. I'm, shirtless with a bunch of pop dancers in like a Backstreet Boys looking music video. And like, it's all about how I never want to write a depressing song again. You know what I mean? That's literally the chorus. So yeah, it's fucking scary shit. But I will say, it's just where I'm at and what I'm going to do. And like, if I'm going to write a depressed Beartooth record, then it's not a Beartooth record. That's me just lying. That's just me bullshitting to try and do what I think a comfortable fan base would want, Yeah,
no, I totally agree. Which, I mean, to me, like you said, Beartooth is really at the core just always been about you sort of being honest with the things you're struggling with at the moment, or maybe struggling isn't even the right word, but the things you're working through at the moment, and, for sure. For you to sort of deliberately put yourself in the same place as you were, 7 or 8 years ago would be dishonest, and it would suck. Like, it would suck. We know, like, there's how many times has it been obvious that a band has tried to do something to please the fans or please radio, and it never works.
Never, dude.
Never.
Man, some really good insight that Ashi actually gave me. Shout out, City Lights t-shirt on today. Respect. But he actually told me when I was talking about like how I've just never been able to feel that spark or like capture what I captured making that first record. And he's like, his insight, which was really good, is he's like, everybody is always trying to make a new hope again.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it's done. Like that has happened. You got to just make something new that's real. And if you keep chasing that ghost, you're just going to get stuck. So like, yeah, it is very hard sometimes when like you literally see what was the most successful, what people clicked with the most. But like, sometimes you just got to understand that that was because of that moment and those circumstances. Yep. Like it's like this record. I've accepted that there's a good chance that I never make a record this kind of like, I don't know, transitional or empowering. Yeah. I don't know what it is, but it's like people keep asking me in interviews, what's Beartooth got coming in the future? What do you think is the direction? You know, are you going to keep making this happy record? Are you going to keep, like, I don't know. Like, we'll see in 2 years. You know, that's
there's no roadmap of like, well, I'm going to make my sad record next, and then it's going to be 30% less sad.
Right. And if you try to do that, which I think bands do, like, sure, there are definitely artists and people that try and like create this, I don't know, story, this outline to just like the emotional impact of the record. Like, it's just never going to work. It's got to just be what's happening to you at the moment. And sometimes, you know, that leads to a record like, you know, in my opinion, our second record, which was, I think it had some really cool moments of like catching lightning in a bottle. But a lot of it was just like me just fighting to make a record because like I was so emotionally burned out. But that was at least real. At least that was what I was going through. So like, yeah, man, trying to stop chasing the ghost and just continue to be in the present, like in a roundabout way, was the only way I could like capture the ghost again.
Right.
I don't know, man.
Like I felt that way about One More Light, which a lot of people hate that album by Linkin Park. Okay. That's like the last one that's like more pop. A lot of people hate that one because it's more pop. Right. And you know, they want, you know, Hybrid Theory again.
Just but over and over and over. Yeah.
Yeah. But like, I don't know if you know the song One More Light, but it's probably the most just like absolutely brutal thing they ever did. It's about a friend of theirs that died of cancer. Yeah. But especially knowing, you know, what happened with Chester, like, you're like, well, it kind of sounds like he's talking about himself too. Yeah. And it's like, it's a pop song, but the lyrics are just like crushingly brutal.
Yeah.
And I guess I just think it's interesting or kind of sad that, you know, people are so kind of blinkered into like only being able to appreciate one particular musical style, that they can't look past that to think about what is this person saying and why, if that makes sense.
100%. Completely agree. Yeah, dude. And I'll say, like, from an artist perspective, that's heavy shit. Is that, like, you know, for them, I mean, think about putting out that record with maybe the most like brutal, heartfelt shit they've ever done. That was so scary for them to do. And like, they're growing up, they're not, you know, 25, and they're not writing these like super pissed off records. They write this pop record, and then it's met with, just give us the old shit. Like,
this
we don't
sucks.
Need this,
Play
we
closer.
Don't need this trash. You know what I mean?
One step closer, yeah.
Which I'm sure they knew putting it out was what people were going to think, say. But yeah, they did it anyway. And
people aren't obligated to like anything, you know, if like,
no, of course,
you know,
not.
Whatever. But just from the perspective of a fan, I would think, you know, you're just missing out on so much great music that, you know, you probably would love if you could just learn to appreciate it.
Yeah, dude. Getting out of nostalgia with a band is tough. Like, so many records of like people's favorite records, you know, it's because that was like a moment for them that was so huge in their life. It's like, for me, you know, my favorite Blink record is like the self-titled record. And I think for most people, it would be one of the earlier ones. But
it just
like,
depends how old you are and when you heard it and all that stuff.
It literally, to me, is like, I think that, you know, technically it's like Take Off Your Pants is like the most perfect record. That record's unfucking believable. But the self-titled record to me came out at a time that was the first Blink record I ever heard. And, it just like it infatuated my life and it changed the way I viewed music and rock, whatever. So it was very influential. And like, there's so much power in nostalgia, and you got to be careful with it, because I feel like people get addicted to it. They think that the artist has lost talent because they're not scratching your nostalgia itch. And then like you stop giving art a chance when you're kind of like stuck in this place. I don't know.
And all you're doing is,
you know what I'm trying to say. It's hard to kind of like express. But then from the artist side as well, is like when you're letting that really impact you, I think there's never anything wrong with like giving people a taste of, the good old days. Like, what are you waiting for us? Even like the first song is, I'm trying to create some nostalgic feelings to curate the rest of the completely unnostalgic stuff that's coming. But yeah, dude, it's like,
but you can't pander.
No, getting stuck. Just the worst thing in art is getting stuck. And that's when to me, getting stuck is when you're just trying to please something. You're not making art because you love it. You're making art because you think this is what is going to sell, really, at the end of the day. It's it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, one thing, so getting back to like the Reddit kind of thing, I'm curious what you think about this. And to preface this, I say this, again, as someone who has like dealt with this stuff my entire life. I mean, like back when I lived in Columbus and I was hanging out with Cam and Ashi and Chase drinking 7 nights a week, and I wanted to just die all the time. Like, I get it. But I feel like mental illness is kind of glamorized and trendy now. What do you think about that?
Maybe I stay far away enough from it of like, I can keep myself pretty out of tune with the scene and with things that are
probably a good thing.
Yeah, I think in some ways it's just not good for my job. Like I should be more involved, but I think for some ways it's kind of important for me to do that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily like being glamorized. But I think, and I'm speaking from personal experience as somebody who's been like, I mean, I've had so many people, especially in the earlier days, being like, who is this dude? Just, you're using depression as a way to like make money, in short. And so I do realize kind of like the danger of it, and that I know for me, I can sleep at night knowing every word I said had no ulterior motive, was nothing other than me just trying to be honest, and what happened. And I've done that for every record, and I sleep really good at night. But I do know how business works, and I know how money works, and I know that there are a lot of other bands that have seen bands like a Linkin Park or like a whatever, who talk about these really heavy emotional things, and see that it works. And so they do what works, and they try and write songs about that to make money. And I do think that's kind of like dangerous. Yeah. And it's just, as I have grown up, obviously when I was 19, it was way different, but like now that I'm 30 years old, I think that there's a difference between expressing your pain so that people understand that they're not alone. Mm-hmm. And then there's and then there's like glamorizing. And then there's like, and I use the word romanticizing, which I use in Riptide. I mean, I'm literally calling myself out. I say, this is the last time that I'll romanticize the Riptide that's trying to drown me.
The tortured artist kind of thing. Yeah.
And it's like, I think that I could keep doing that, and it could be from an honest place, but I'm choosing not to anymore. And obviously I'm going to write stuff that's heavy. I'm going to write stuff that's sad, but like, to your point of that, there may be artists who are doing this. I definitely think it happens.
And not just artists. I mean, just like random people on TikTok or something that sort of
Oh, just
construct
like
their
life in
whole
general. Yeah.
yeah, constructing their whole identity around the fact that they have some mental health issue, which again, I totally get it. I'm sympathetic, but
Yeah.
for their sake, I would just say like, man,
Yeah. That's just unhealthy.
yeah,
Like,
you don't want to live
that's
this way.
that's scary. It's like
Yeah,
I have
yeah,
been there, like 100%. Not maybe not outwardly like choosing to make my identity being mentally ill, but I've definitely been that person before where every single interview, every single thing people ask me is like, you're really fucking sad and fucked up. And I'm like, oh, well,
what's
maybe.
that like?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like,
Well, it
okay,
sucks.
well, let's look at this. Maybe if every single person is asking me, why are you like this? Maybe there's something that I am doing that is
Mhm.
leading them to think this. Um, and obviously, it takes growth and it takes time, but like you were saying, dude, so much of life is a choice. And like every word we say, we have control over that. Every energy that we put out into the world, we can control at the end of the day. And yeah, the difference between like glamorizing and romanticizing and then just actually like going through it and looking for kind of like help or looking for a way to connect with other
Yeah,
people, they can be two very different things. And I think
right.
it's scary shit. Like it's
And it's
just
hard to know what the difference is sometimes.
yeah, when you're so deep in it and when it is so comfortable and it's working, that's the scary part is it's like you're doing this and people are like, yeah, go ahead, keep living in that space. um it's tough to get out of, fuck, I've definitely been there. Like having success making really sad shit, and being the sad person and talking about the sad person. It's like I truly never was trying to be that person, but I do think subconsciously it kept me in that space. Um, I don't know. It's like, it just kind of is a vicious cycle.
Exactly. Like I remember, especially like the emo rap stuff was really, really, really intense with that. Like I think it was Lil Peep. I don't want to say for sure, but I think it was Lil Peep. There was one of those guys that would like post stories of like fans would bring him pills and he would just like take them, you know? And that's just like such a sad example of like,
Yeah.
I think, again, I think it was Lil Peep, but he's obviously like making this stuff like as a cry for help in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And then the fans want him to think that they're cool, and so they bring him drugs, and he's in such a like bad place that he's just like, fuck it, I don't care what happens to me, I'm going to take this.
Yeah.
And you just see that and I'm just like, dude, this is so, and this is not me being a boomer and yelling at them and saying I'm just like, dude, this is so sad and fucked up and toxic. This is not good,
Dude, I mean, yeah, like it does curate that cycle. Like that shit is just, it's such an odd, almost uncharted territory.
Right.
Like, obviously there's always been really sad artists, from painters way back in the day to now. Like tortured art is some of the biggest art always. But yeah, now just with kind of the state of the world and with the fact that the internet is what it is and there's every little subculture that you want, you can kind of curate your own lane and like find anything you're looking for or get into anything so much deeper. And there's a lot of a lot more outside influence going on in the world, that I think that can lead to some kind of like maybe uninformed decisions,
Right.
and things that people don't realize like what is really going on. And yeah, like you were saying, like like emo rap, like from the outside people could think, okay, this is just like his vibe, is he's just kind of singing in this sad tone and talking about
I wish it was that.
and yeah, and like that's his vibe, but like he's having a blast and he just loves pills and he loves to like get fucked up and it's like a party. So like they think that's cool and whatever, and it just kind of gets vicious.
I remember seeing him. He did this vlog where he was like going to the mall or whatever, and that was like one of the first things I saw from him. And I turned to my wife and I was like, dude, this kid's gonna die.
Yeah.
and he did like 6 months later. But if I was 16 years old, I wouldn't be able to see that. It's only because I was an adult who had seen this stuff, that I was able to see that.
Yeah, for sure. Like, dude, I mean, I think about, I don't know, like even like fucking party bands in the 80s and shit.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's kind of similar where, at the time, all you're seeing is the glamorized version of this. You're not seeing the fucking gruesome hangover that they're dealing with every day. You're not
doing blow to get rid of the hangover.
The mental torture that they're in from being in this place, it just, that's the thing that's hard is I think so many people just look at things at a surface level and don't really understand what's going on underneath. And yeah, dude, I don't know.
Yeah.
Art and like mental headspace and even just sense of self to me is like a massive part of all this stuff we're talking about.
Like if you think, like I remember thinking like, oh, I'm a fuck up. I'm always going to be a fuck up. I'm just like destined to be like a miserable, fuck up basically.
Straight up.
And so then then of course I acted like one, which made it a self-fulfilling prophecy and, so forth.
Exactly. Literally case in point, dude. Yeah. When you think that way, then you just don't fucking care. So like you said, you're going to be at the bar 7 nights a week.
Yeah.
Fucking doing whatever. Because honestly, in a way, that's you just saying, I give up. I'm just going to do whatever makes me momentarily happy.
Yeah.
To get through
quotes,
this life because I am doomed and whatever. And I don't fucking care. I mean, I used to literally say out of my mouth, I'm probably going to live till my, hopefully my 40s. Like, because I just didn't care. I hated myself so fucking much and thought I was so doomed and manifested that for myself and lived in that and spoke that truth that it became real. And, I was just doing anything that made me momentarily happy. And it was as somebody on the other side, I'm sure you can attest. It's like, that was absolute fucking bullshit. That was fear. That was me just saying shit so I could like get away with it and not have to work hard and work on myself and look in the mirror and deal with the shit that I knew would give me a better life. And yeah, it's so hard. It is almost impossible to see the other side of that coin when you're there. It's almost impossible. I mean, you look at, numbers of addiction, you look at whatever, like that legitimately is a very hard thing to realize that you have power. But it's so true. It's all you. At the end of the day, there's no, like, a lot of people have like, they say like rock bottom. That's their thing that kind of like turns them around or whatever. But yeah, like it's until you choose for you, so much of this world is based around what can somebody else do to help you with this, or we're selling stuff that's going to keep you down in that place because we know that you're going to keep spending if you're down there and you need to find a way out, whether it be, pills or drinks or fucking whatever it could be. Yeah, dude, like self-love and self-care is a very difficult thing to grasp, and I completely understand it, and like absolutely no shade to anybody who's living in that space. Totally. We've all fucking been there, but as somebody who's been there and has now found a way to at least start to understand and deal with those problems head on, like step by step, it's worth it. Like, god damn, it's rad. Like I'm a big fan personally. But yeah, it's fucking tough and it's scary.
Well, last question for you on a happier note. One of the things, especially like with the latest single, The Better Me, I was like, man, this kind of sounds like Bill Murray, which made me think about your former band, Attack Attack.
Yeah.
How do you feel about all the love that Attack Attack gets now, 10, 15 years later?
It's so funny, dude. When I was in it, it was just nothing but a good time, at least in those early years. The records with Johnny and like the self-titled and Someday Came Suddenly. That was just nothing but a good time. And then it got weird and there was so much self-hate. And then I had, my scene guilt and I started my fucking hardcore band and whatever. But like now it is so funny how that works. Like
People just love that stuff so much.
Enough time has passed now that I think it's those like kind of those things like, dude, you post a lot of these memes. Like you'll never realize these are the best years of your life. It's like, that was one of those fucking moments, man. We were such a weird band and such a weird flash in the pan. But I do think there was like, when at first I thought it was just kind of like this crazy, weird, like, how could they have made this happen? I think there was a lot of talent. And I think there was like,
sure, absolutely.
Shit. I mean, you see what happened now
with
Johnny and myself, and even they're still going. It's like there was a lot of good shit that went down, but I definitely don't at all have any of like the hatred for it. I
mean, is it cool to see that people appreciate it now? Because obviously a lot of people back then didn't.
Oh my God. It's hilarious to see it now. Because back then, like, we had our supporters, and then there was just, you either supported it or fucking hated it.
Right.
Especially in like 2009, like when it was kind of like just a hot moment. Dude, I remember being on Warped and like literally bands from stage, like shit talking us and the whole like Skull Candy stage.
Right.
Like just hating.
You're like, I'm 17. Don't you have something better to do with yourself?
Yeah, I was literally a fucking kid. But like that, now that people are into it and kind of appreciate it, I think is great. I'm all about it. I just think it's fun because that was the fucking point. It was just fun. It's like, look at Bill Murray. Like to me, Bill Murray is it really like ties up so much about what Attack Attack really was.
Mm-hmm.
Because Johnny was so much of Attack Attack. He brought that like fun, no fucking care about what anybody thinks. Does it make us laugh? And do we have fun playing it? That's all that matters. But then really under that would be like this brilliant song. Like he's so fucking good. But
brilliant, but also just made absolutely no sense in like a cool way. Like the first time I heard Stick Stickly, I was at just some like random scene kids, like how some scene girls party, and they put it on, and I just like stopped what I was doing. I was like, what in the fuck is this?
Dude, yes, man.
This makes no fucking sense.
That literally was it. And like to the point of choosing to do that. Like if it didn't make us laugh, or I don't know how we found that kind of middle ground. But yeah, dude, those first two records were magical. And like, I look back on those times so fondly now. I spent so long fucking burying that shit and like not thinking about it and fucking hating it. And only looking at the negative that came out of it and how it kind of like, this situation scarred me in quite a few ways. But now I'm just like, dude, those are some of the best years of my life. Like being fucking 15 years old in Joey Sturgis's garage when he was still like
chain smoking.
Yeah, dude, just ripping. Everybody is smoking. We're fucking like pissing out in the yard because there's no bathroom. We have to drive to the gas station to go take a shit, and like pouring in a van nonstop, like lighting fireworks in the van on the highway, just being fucking idiot kids. And like, it was great times, man. It really was. There's some magic that I could, that was very much, it was meant to be. It happened, and I couldn't be more fucking proud. But yeah, dude, fuck, that was cool.
Dude, I think especially like the self-titled one, like really, really, really holds up. Like Smokeahonis, like that is just a legitimately great song. I think that's when Joey also was just like really entering God mode. Dude, and you just add all of that up together and you're like, damn it, this is good.
Yeah. Like dude, we were talking about this the other day. Me and I'm a huge Devil Wears Prada fan, obviously. If you've listened to Attack Attack in that era, Prada like paved the way. But we went through like their whole discography on the bus one night in Europe, spent like a long time going through and talking about all their eras. Like, dude, that's a talk about a band that's had an amazing fucking ride. Like, they're one of my favorites of all time. It's so good to see them doing so well now. But listening to those old records, it was like, dude, Joey was doing something that like you had never heard a mix that
absolutely, especially in this genre. I was like, whoa, I had no idea this kind of music could sound this way.
Yeah, didn't know it was possible, man. Like, yeah, shout out to fucking Joey Sturgis, the king, dude. I mean, he's the reason the reason my shit sounds the way it does. Like, absolutely.
Right on. Well, I appreciate your time, and always good to chat, and I will catch you later.
Dude, thank you for the time, man. Greatly appreciate it.